Hey there, this is Therese Skelly, and I am so excited that you are going to be listening to an episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. Do you like those two words? Fiercely Brilliant. My hypothesis is that you are here for a reason. We all are. Our souls have led us on journeys that have very often taken some twists and turns, and sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes there's struggle and there's loss and there's challenge, and in the middle of that, there's always a way out. And it's those times that often lead us into our great life and work. So you're going to hear stories in these episodes of myself and other beautiful people that share the journey. They share how they got to the place where they're standing, working in their brilliance, and being the powerful leaders that they are. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode. This is Therese, and it's another episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. And oh, you're in for a treat today. I get to have Melisa Keenan share her amazing, presence and then story with you. So Melisa and I have spent some time together. We were on a retreat together, and she's one of those like, you have to come to my podcast because people will love you kind of connections. And so Melisa, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Therese.
Well, are you ready to roll?
Ready.
Okay. So why don't you start by telling us what you do in the world today in business and what you love about that?
So I help high-powered female CEOs use their feminine energy as their 10x growth strategy, which is a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
What that means is that, I'm helping women really access the most powerful version of themselves, which is more of an unbecoming than it is a becoming. And what I love about the work I do, a couple of things come to mind. Like, I get really giddy when she comes back to me with sex wins. It's one of my favorites. Like
sex wins. SEX, sex wins.
Okay. SEX, yes. Like, this is a whole woman's approach to life and business and relationships, rather than, this compartmentalized, let's just work on your business, let's just work on your intimacy. Like, it's a whole approach. And so she has those wins, and then shortly after, she'll have a huge win in her business, because a turned around woman is an incredible business leader.
I really like where we're starting here, darling. Because so many women compartmentalize that, like you say, or they just cut that part of themselves off, right? And they're just running adrenaline and male energy to get shit done, and getting laid apparently has got some good stuff for them, right? But like, do women fight you on that? Do they look at you like, no, I'm here to grow my business, and then you have to go, oh, sit down? Like, how do you get women to accept this?
You can tell where their priorities lie. I always say that high-powered business women kind of have two running fears at any given time that sort of play tug of war with each other. And one is losing the momentum that she's already created, because it's like, I have put blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And the other is doing all of it alone, like without a partner, without somebody to really share what she's created with and share her life with. And these are like this tug of war inside of her. But it's interesting because, it varies client per client, whether or not she shows up and we talk about her business every time. And then I'm the one that says, okay, now how does that pattern show up in other areas of your life? Yeah, right. Or if she's showing up and she's like, talking about her marriage, or talking about even her sex and what that's like. And then we're going, okay, then how does that show up?
Got it. I love it. Well, you can't take yourself out of your business. And so I love that you integrate all the parts. Okay. So I know you have a story that is really depicting your experience with feminine energy and how it impacted you. So why don't you just start with that?
Yeah, thanks. So it was about the end of 2020, and I ended up in the ER because I had this severe pain in my side. And I have had, I'm about to go in actually right now in 2022 for my fourth kidney stone surgery. So
Oh
I
gosh.
know what kidney stones feel like. And I was very sure that this was not a kidney stone thing. Like, I know my body well enough to know where that pain is, and different pain, but it was there. And I was going, is it appendix? Is it, I was,
Yeah.
we were really freaking out. And of course they, went through all the different tests to try and figure out what it was. And ultimately, which was what my intuition said. And that was very validating for me that I do know my body. My intuition said, this is your ovary.
Mm.
And the doctor said, the only thing that I can think it could be is your ovary. We've already done all these different tests, x-rays, etc. And we don't really have answers here. They sent me to a different ER. And then ultimately at that ER, they sent me home, and they made a referral to a woman's health doctor. And I went in there, and then we did some different tests, and they found that I had this massive growth on my ovary, which I always have been prone to cysts on my ovaries. And, they've shown up at varying times. We never knew consistently that it was the same one, because how they work is they can come and go and stuff. But after kind of doing some of these tests and things, and then I started going back every month to figure out, like, what is this and what's it doing? We determined it was a tumor, and that it wasn't going away. As a matter of fact, now it was growing. So I went into, I'm a big believer that I don't want to get cut on and go straight to kind of medicine route if I can avoid it. So I was like, okay, like, how much time do we got? Like, what's your, thoughts here? And then, like, I went into, any holistic things I could do. And I started spending, probably maybe 8 hours a week on my health, even though I had also just hired a new business coach to scale my business. I knew I was ready to scale my business. All this stuff happened, right? That's just how it seems to go. But you get to test your resolve on what you say.
I'm still a yes, still a yes, still a yes. Yeah.
So it was very strategic. I put in lots of time for me to do. I did light therapy. I did, all kinds of these different holistic approaches, the Rife machine, and all these different things. And I also was following really specific strategic steps to scale my business. And one day I was sitting at home, and I felt like I've been playing. I had just started really kind of playing more with some aspects of feminine practice, like creating rituals and things. And so I have this sweet little table that I sometimes will use, and will feel called to put things on it, like an altar of sorts. And I felt this at this particular time. It was like, walk around your house and ask for help from your ancestors, because you're going through something big, and you might have ovarian cancer. It was like, it was like, okay. And I went walking around my house, and I found I just would, oh yes, in my jewelry box, I have this family heirloom, and I have this thing that I have on my cabinet, and I have this book, and I have this check that my mom just wrote me, and I have these different things. And as I looked at what was on the table, I was like, oh my gosh, not only was everything something lovely from a female ancestor that I had, which, I mean, I'm a pretty typical, like, millennial that I don't hold on to a ton of stuff. You know what I mean? My house is full of these things. It just so happened that these are the things.
So very strange. Yeah.
And they all had something to do with money and my family's money story as well. One of them, I have this mother pin, and it's made out of pearl, some kind of pearl ivory something. there's a note written on it, handwritten from my mother, about how
Wow.
this was my great grandmother's, and this must have cost them so much money. And this must have been such a precious gift because she knows they didn't have very much money.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, then there was the check, and there were a few other things that had to do with their money story. And all of a sudden it occurred to me that I had to go through this thing while growing my business, because my female ancestors were actually deeply invested in my success and my growth, healing my money story, healing my business story, and the level of abundance that I was able to allow flow through my life, and the level of impact that I was able to call in. I felt like they were literally like, we are very interested in this. And this, it was a revalidation of something that I already knew, which was that as I am doing these things for myself, I'm healing them. I'm healing their story.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Had you had much connection to them before? Did you tie in them and your business, or them and your money?
Not at all.
Wow.
Because I think that I still probably even a little suffer from this whole, like, money isn't spiritual, business isn't spiritual,
Right,
even though every single time that I hit a glass ceiling in my business, it's some deep thing inside of me. I know, like, it is so spiritual, but I still kind of, have these
funny. Yeah.
separated in my brain. So this was a huge aha for me, particularly the women too. I was so surprised.
Right.
The women in my family were very disempowered in a lot of and their stories are really sad.
I can feel that. Yeah.
My heart really feels for them. And so to feel that, I even felt the spirit of my mother, who's alive, but her physical self is not able to really be, she's not living awake. She's not awake. She has no idea who she really is, the power of who she really is. And so we don't even, speak right now. But I felt even her. And so, and there, I recognized that there were things I needed to heal in my relationship with my female ancestors that was directly tied to my
To the ovary,
to heal and grow, and to my ovary. So the other thing that I do is I'm like, okay, it was my left ovary that's having this issue, and I'm saying to myself, I teach about feminine energy. I also teach about intimacy, right? This is the area of your left side of your body is the side of your feminine energy. Your ovary is clearly attached to being a woman, and your ovary is also the area of, like, sex organs and things, right? And I'm like, I've healed all this crap. What the heck, right? But there was still some layers here.
Yeah.
So, so one day, the most profound experience that happened, there's two big things that happened during this experience that I want to share. One was one day I was sitting in the medical intuitive spa that I was going to hours and hours every week. And I was sitting there doing some meditating, and I felt the spirit of my mom's mom to me. And I was so angry with her.
Wow.
My mom's childhood was horrendous. Absolutely what no one should ever be asked to endure. And when my mom went to her mother finally to tell her what had happened and what was really going on, she didn't do anything about it. And she was providing for the family at the time. She could have easily divorced her husband, and
but she didn't protect her daughter.
She didn't.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of anger that I had held on to about that with her. I didn't really know her that much in our, like, she died, I want to say when I was 14 or something. And she came to me and we had a frank conversation with her on the other side of the veil, where she was so apologetic. She was like, and what I recognized in what she was saying was something that I've seen in client after client, which was, I didn't think I was good enough to find someone to share my life with. If I left this man who had agreed to share life with me, I thought I would be alone forever. And I thought this was the better alternative. And I see now how wrong I was.
But it was a low self-esteem that gets passed down. Yeah.
And so often I serve these, high-powered business women who on the outside look so tough, but on the inside, they're in relationships that are not in alignment with them at all.
Right.
And these are incredible women who should have their pick of the,
Yes. Well, let's just go there. So if somebody's listening to this going, oh my God, she's talking to me, right? Because it takes tremendous, because that gap, right? This is the world that sees you high power, and yet you're sacrificing yourself, you're settling. There's that disconnect and discontent that you're trying to like pretend isn't there. How would you instruct somebody to close the gap or to begin to look at that? What do you teach people around this?
Number one is this piece where it's not even about the relationship necessarily or about the other person, the partner that you're with. Number one is, are you listening to your heart? And you have that relationship with your heart where you trust what it's nudging you towards, or do you shut it down when it speaks? Because your heart is telling you if this relationship is serving or not. And it doesn't always mean the relationship needs to end, or, it doesn't always mean that. It might. It also nudges us when we're single. And, I'll meet a lot of women who are like, I don't need a man. I don't need a relationship. I'm like, but what does your heart say?
Damn it. Right.
That is literally the first key and step. And it's recognizing at some point in your journey, if you're not listening to your heart, it's because you had an experience that taught you can't trust your heart. And so begin to mend that, because it's never true. Sometimes we follow our heart and it does lead to great heartache. But that doesn't mean that our heart led us astray ever. Our heart never leads us astray when we really know how to listen.
Maybe we needed that experience, right? Maybe that heartache was part of our next level of growth or something. Okay.
Exactly.
So what about this is epigenetics, basically. This is the ancestral stuff that gets carried through. How does one start to discover? Because you're already aware. We're giving you the book is towards the end here. You're like in the, and what if somebody's brand new and it's like, wait, what? My ancestors? So how do you work with women around discovering their ancestry story, discovering the impact, like that kind of stuff?
This comes up for some of my clients, and then for some of my clients, it doesn't. I think for some we're very ready, and for some we're not, and that's okay. But if you do feel called to that, well, there's some like strategic things. Like there's some apps that I love that I literally have family history apps on my phone. Okay. I'm like a total genealogy nerd, actually. So there's that. And it's like something where if there is some stuff to be healed with that, I think once you kind of like turn your ears on for it, stuff starts happening. Like all of a sudden, Grandpa Joe calls up and is like, hey, do you want these old letters? Right. Like stuff just starts happening. So that's really cool. But I would say that often our ancestors are there. I really believe there are guardian angels. And they're there. And you probably have these experiences too, Therese, because you're so intuitive. Where I'll be working with a client and it's like, okay, it comes through once and I might ignore it. And then it comes Sorry. And I'm like, okay, your grandma is here. Like, I don't even know if your grandma's dead. Is she?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And
Yep.
just getting her a little bit open to recognizing or even beginning to look for that. And then I also teach a process. It starts with just journaling. And you can start even by writing with your opposite hand. So if you want, like, I think that all this kind of stuff around like, oh, I need to hire somebody to channel whatever on the TV shows around channel.
Right. You're like, or
you have that ability in you and you don't have to bypass it. And it doesn't have to be some earth shattering, crazy thing that like, it, you know, literally you can pick up a pen. And if you have a question for your ancestor or you have something to share with your ancestor, just write it down and then take the pen into your other hand, your non-dominant hand, and just be open.
The answer.
See if there's something that will come through.
I love though that you made the connection. I think this is what people have to know is you take on or perhaps bring in with you the money stories that your ancestors, you know, and like your disempowered grandma, your disempowered mom. And so finish the story of how the ovary, like it all happened together, right? Like, so that was, on one hand, we could say that was so horrible. That was terrible. You had to go through that. And yet I'm hearing you go, it was an opportunity for more growth. So talk about how that dynamic happens, because it happens all the time when you're ready to up level, right? It's like, shoot, look what I have to deal with now. So
yes. And also I would say that because I have an emphasis, I know that I thrive when I make space and make a priority for my feminine energy, which to me is lots of time to go inward, lots of time to you know, heal, to do these things that it could have been, I could have made a different decision. I could have literally just looked at my doctor and said, get this thing out of me as fast as possible, because I need to be a workhorse for my business. And I felt, because I have this relationship with my own intuition, that wasn't the route I was supposed to go, even though I did ultimately end up going in for surgery. We just delayed the surgery, and this process, you know, I just let the process unfold.
And you got the gifts. So what was different? I mean, obviously you have one less tumor, but at the end of that, and, you know, like having the ancestors there, like how does that work today? How does that amplify the feminine energy and the way you show up in the world?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I doubled my income twice.
Okay.
That needs to be said. And that's why my tagline, even though my tagline I don't actually really love it. Like it's more to speak to the woman who's listening, who's skeptical about feminine energy. Because I say, I help women use their feminine energy as their 10x growth strategy. And to me, even the phrase 10x growth strategy, I'm like,
it's so business,
because
but it works.
Where we're at. We're like, I need a 10x growth strategy and I needed it yesterday. And the thing is our feminine energy, when we really are willing to go, oh my gosh, like there is something divine inside of me that is seeking to move forward. And can I let this process also be that platform for me to know myself so deeply so that I can actually be powerfully the purpose and impact and influence that I'm meant to be on the planet. Like that is where it's at. And that is and this is the case for me now as well. Doing this and calling that in allows me to actually experience fulfillment and experience my true power in every aspect of my life. So, you know, how that plays out for me now is, you know, still running a very high powered, beautiful business. And I love the work that I do. And I feel very fulfilled in that. But I also have the relationship of my dreams, which continues to grow. We continue to experience fulfillment together and even step, you know, layer by layer into what it means to be a power couple and what that looks like for us uniquely. And layer into things like sex magic and stuff, like ways that he and I can like manifest our life together. Like it's so fulfilling. And then I have 4 kids, and what used to feel like a drag, I mean, to be totally honest, I did not know how to show up with my kids and actually like this thing that was so demanding. You know what I mean? And they're all very close in age and stuff.
Yeah.
And just 2 weeks ago, I took the week off. I took just me and my kids. My husband just started a new job in February. So it was like not time for him to take off.
Yeah.
Just me and my 4 kids went and stayed at this cabin on the coast in California. And I had such an amazing time with them because I know that seat of who I really am. I can look across at my kids and begin to see who they really are. I enjoy them, and it doesn't feel like that heavy weight, like everyone's demanding something of me. Yes.
Oof, that picture is magnificent. But where let me just ask about you. How did you get into this? Because most people buy into but you have to work. You have to 10x that masculine push. So how did you get into it? And then if somebody's listening going, God, that sounds so yummy, but I'm kind of afraid to drop what I'm doing now to migrate over there. Right. So there's a couple questions. You can pick one or go to both.
I had a huge awakening of what really mattered most. And that was me being fully expressed in my true nature. Before I even started my business. So that for me has been a ground that I come back to over and over. So then as I started my business, and certainly I've hired enough experts who have told me, do this spammy thing and do that spammy thing. And 100% I've done them. I'm very good at being a good student. And I definitely want to do, if they tell me this is going to move the needle forward on your business,
you'll do it. Yeah.
Okay. And yet, because I have this anchor, being in alignment matters so much to me that it's like after a period of time, I'm like, oh no, I can feel. And it is my goal to get that gap very
shorter. Yeah.
So right. I can go, no, this strategy is absolutely out of alignment for me. Right?
Good.
So there's that. And even in saying that, when you talk about, usually we don't realize how afraid we are of actually stepping into this feminine place. So instead I get a myriad of different excuses. I've done enough work on myself. Financially, that's just not a priority right now. Because it's so seductive, right? If you have, you're trying to decide between stepping into your feminine goddess power, which feels very unknown, and what does that even mean, and how am I going to see those tangible results? Right. And what is the hardcore
ROI? Right? What's the ROI?
What's the ROI?
It's letting go of control or life as you knew it, the old paradigm. Yeah,
really is. Versus, well, I also have this guy over here who's vying for my attention, and he's got this very specific strategy. And he says, I'm going to, do X, Y, Z in this amount of time. And so that happens. And a lot of times women will choose that. It's like, I'm not ready. I am still going to keep investing in masculine energy systems and structural pieces. I did a poll just a few months ago, and I found among only high-powered 6- and 7-figure business women, and I found that 90% of them had invested either 100% or 90 to 100% in only masculine energy.
Wow.
It didn't mean that they were hiring men. Don't let that.
Yeah, no, I get it. But that way of being,
Yes, they were hiring. It was all about doing more, hustle, producing, getting the numbers, and so we do need that. Absolutely, we do. But when we only invest in masculine energy strategies and tools, and we feel so burnt out at the end of every day, what result do you think you're going to get? You're just going to get more masculine energy stuff that make you continue to feel so burnt out. So that's what I would say is look, it's like that law of insanity to continue to do the same thing over and over. At what point can you look yourself in the mirror and say, I have all the strategies and systems that I need. What I need now is not, to learn the next, I need to become a podcast host. I haven't tried that yet or whatever. And at what point can you honestly say, I need some sort of next level tool that will
100%.
help elevate me from the inside out?
I use those words all the time. And you are such a beautiful embodiment because you're very feminine. You're gorgeous. You're very feminine. And you got this, you can do all the stuff. You can make shit happen. You can have the hard conversations. But it's supportive. It's in service of, in addition to leading with all that. So you have a beautiful blend of the masculine and feminine. But like, final note, if somebody's like, okay, I want to do this, but where do I start? Obviously we're going to direct them to you, but like, what one exercise or one place to say, here's how you bring the feminine in. Here's one thing you can play with or try.
I love this question, and she's going to hate the answer.
That's okay.
So often with my clients, when they first come in, our biggest chunk of time is spent helping her feel her feelings. Like literally. And, it's like, oh, but, we're so saturated with this conversation about how we're accepting our feelings and whatever. But what would happen if you, right at this moment, we'll just do it right here, right now, experience it. Think of something that caused you discomfort recently, some sort of internal discomfort. And then bring that into this present moment. Like, put yourself back in that place as much as you can right now. And then notice where you feel the discomfort in your physical body. And just get really, really present with that. Sitting with that, being with that, not running from it, not trying to fix it, not trying to do anything about it, just feeling it. And if you notice several places in your body, what I say is go to the one that's the loudest, because our body is using our emotions to try to speak to us.
Right.
And then I get real curious with it. Maybe I know the name of the emotion. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just feel physical sensation. So I start asking myself questions like, okay, does it feel tight or loose? Does it feel sharp or dull? Does it feel hot or cold? And then I just be with it until I notice a shift in some way. Often I'll set a timer for 1 minute. And usually that's all it takes. Just being with that feeling in your body for 1 minute. And once you've allowed yourself to really be with the feeling, and you've allowed yourself to get still now, there's an opportunity for this emotion to serve as like a compass, and it guides you to what you deeply value. And it could be just even a momentarily thing, like, why am I feeling this feeling? What does it indicate that I deeply value that's missing for me this moment?
So you're inviting more presence inside, more awareness of who you are, as opposed to, but just one more fat funnel will make it better, right? That's a beautiful starting point.
And it taps you into your desires, which is where I really feel like our feminine power is. Like, again, I said this at the beginning. Do you listen to your heart? Do you trust your heart? Because your heart conveys your desires, and your desires literally convey your whole life purpose. Like, I don't have the same desires you have, Therese, and you don't have the same desires I have. Well, where did those desires come from? Our most true desires. There are some, surface level egoic desires that were, formed from our nurture, but our truest desires are literally the blueprint for how we're to have the most fulfilled life and create the greatest impact.
That is a mic drop moment. That is a magnificently said. So Melisa, where can people find you? And I think you have a free gift.
Yes. Come to my website, www.melisakeenan.com, melisakeenan.com. And there you will find, I have a free intimacy guide. And I also am running a interview series with called Chronicles of the High Power Female CEO, where you can hear from other 7+ figure business women who are, really changing the narrative around how we do business and how we do life. And one more thing I'll say is if you're on Facebook, you can search up Women Manifesting Intimacy. That's my free Facebook group.
Beautiful. This has been a delight. And I love the example, because I think when people think femininity or feminine power, it's the very, yoga teacher, struggling, and you're not any of those. You're feminine and powerful.
Yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you see that, you have to ask yourself, I literally just created a post that's going out this week. I created it last night that says, when you hear feminine energy, you think to yourself, has she ever created any success in her life? Right. Because that's it's a complete disservice that we've done. We've tarnished the feminine and we don't really know what it is. Right. So thank you for saying that. Yes.
Yep. And so you, and then I love the idea of your podcast sharing this, because this work needs to be in the world, because it's not sustainable. Like, women cannot run on that energy for a long time. We sell our souls, sacrifice our health, our children, our families. And so I love your message about the way to a rich, rich, rich life is through embracing the feminine. And so thank you for being such a beautiful model for that, darling.
So much, Therese. It's been lovely.
Good. So I'm going to ask you, listeners, think about who needs to hear this. So when you tune in, I want you to say, wow, who do I know that needs this message, that needs an invitation just to ask the question, what does your heart want? What is your heart telling you? So think of 2 people and share this podcast with them, because that's how it works. That's how women, we support each other, right? Like, let's share this stuff. Let's get more of this out in the world. All right. Thanks again. Peace and blessings. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, I really appreciate you listening to that last episode. And I would love to get to know you a little bit more and to get to connect with you on a deeper level. And here's what I suggest. I've got a Facebook group that corresponds with the content of these podcasts. It's called Fiercely Brilliant Women in Business with Therese Skelly. So if you just search Facebook, Fiercely Brilliant with Therese Skelly, you'll find the group. It's a really nice group. It's a small group, and I'm super active in it. Each week, we have a lot of supportive conversations. I share a lot of resources. I do a lot of coaching on the spot, and I would love to have you join me there. So if you like the vibe of this podcast and you want to hang out with a pretty darn cool community of women, join us at Fiercely Brilliant on Facebook with Therese Skelly. Alrighty, peace and blessings, and I hope to see you in the group. Bye now.